Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video I will be teaching you how to play Prelude number 1 in C major by Bach. The first thing that you should know is the C major scale, and it's like this. Also you should know the first chord of the scale, C major, which is C, E and G. And what he'll do is take the inversions of this, first inversion and then second inversion, and the prelude starts like this, with this sequence of notes. We have 4/4 as a tempo marking, so we could count in 4. So we could do 1, 2, 3, 4. We could also add the left hand, which is going to be part of the same chord. So here we have C and E, and we have the C major complete. So we start with the C and E here, and then we run this. So we could say that it's a harmonic prelude rather than a melodic one, because it's just based on the chord. So we have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So for the first measure, you could block this and start it like this. For me, I like this finger in here. 1, 2, 4, and 2 and 1 on the left hand. Okay? So first chord, we open up and we did this. Second inversion, and C and E remains the same. You could see the foundation for the chord there. Okay? Now, next step will be going to the 2 chord. So if we go to D minor here, second chord of the scale, and we add the 7th note, which is the C, then we have here a D minor 7. And what he'll do is, we could take this chord, for instance here, and do the same thing with the inversions, and get to the second inversion, and this is what we'll have. Rest, that's all there is. So we could do the same approach and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay? We do have a rest, so we'll do rest, da 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 da, rest, da 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 da. Okay, but it's important that we know that we have the D as a foundation, but also the 7th note that was missing, we'll add it underneath. So that's C here from the chord, we'll have it here, the D remains the same, and then we took the second inversion on top. So now we have this, da 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 da. And that's all there is. If we play both of them, so now we have a 1 chord to a 2 chord. Okay, notice that the left hand I like to do 1 2 1 2 here. The right hand I like to do 1 2 4 and then 1 3 5. All together. Okay, and even though this is a minor chord, the D minor 7, we're starting with almost no tension, and then here we have this interval here that's very dissonant, so you can kind of increment a little bit more sound there, the next one a little bit more, and then release. Okay, so now we're gonna work on the next one. We did the 1, the 2 chord. Now we're gonna go to the 4th chord. So this is the 3rd E minor, F major, 4th chord, and then we get that to the 5th chord. Now what we have to think here is we're gonna add the 7th note, and we get to a G7 on the 5th degree of the scale. So we have this. What he'll do for the right hand is get rid of the B and just run this up. Okay, that's all there is there. Notice that is the G7 without the B. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if we play this now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's all there is. Now you might be wondering, where is the B? Well, the B is going to be on the left hand here, and also the D is going to double up below. So now we end up with this. Okay, here we detach everything. Da 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 da. But the left hand is holding on to those. See, I hold those two notes. And sometimes you could sing those more because they are longer. But it's totally up to you what you want to do there. Okay, and then we go back to the one chord which we started on, which is C major. Okay, so if we take a look at this, we did a 1, 2, 5, 1. And I like to play it like that because you start light, a little more tension, and then release here. So if we do those measures, we have this. A little left hand, and then release. Okay, now it's important, I'm doing little movements here and there. So instead of, I'm going down here on the first note, and then as you can see, I'm going out a little bit. So I get a better sound by going outside the keyboard and inside. It has to be a little bit, not too much. So this way I do this, you can see in, out, out, in, out. So it gives a more natural feel than if you just strike each note like this. You see? So it gives a better sound than if you strike each one. So instead of that, this, in and out. Okay? There, we get there. Did the G7 and then back. Alright, now from there we're gonna go to the 6th degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A minor, and what he'll do is extend this, add an A there, and then he gets rid of C, which again is gonna be underneath. But let's do just right hand, and we do this 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all there is there. Sometimes, because this is the highest note so far, you could ring that A a little more. So 1, da 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 da, and that's all there is. Now the C that was here, we bring it underneath, and also the E, and we always blend in those two. And that's all there is for that measure. As far as the pedaling, sometimes you could do it with no pedal at all, but if you want to use it, you could do play the C, then pedal down and right after. So it's like up, down here. So let's say you're on the, you start with the pedal on, and you do that first one with pedal on, and then you run it. Now when it comes to this one, you play it, and then you go up, down on it, and you keep going. So when you do up, down there, up, down, up, down, up, down, like this. But it's true that you could also play with no pedal at all, so you could just do this. No pedal. What you could notice if you had no pedal is that the keyboard will get a little heavier because the dampers are all the way down. So when you push a key, you also have to lift the damper with the action of the key. So you lift the damper and it's heavier. So it will lighten up if you put a little pedal. It will get easier, I believe. Easier to control, a lighter sound also. It's harder if you just no pedal. Bach instruments didn't have pedal. That's why we always have a dilemma to use it or not to use it. I'll leave it up to you. Now, we got to the A minor here, and I believe we should think a little bit on the A minor scale. So let's say A minor scale is like this. So we are talking a little bit about this. But now if you do the melodic minor, you have two sharps there, and then the natural minor descends the same as the like this without the sharp. So that's why the next chord 1, 2, 3, 4. If you go to the fourth chord on that scale, you have a D major, but we're talking about the A minor melodic. So we have two ways of approaching it. We could approach the D major as going from the A minor to the D7 here, or we could also think on the G. The G major is also related to the C major, and it has that chord also. So we're gonna take it as a here as a fourth chord from the melodic minor, and what we'll do is inversion, flip it here, and we have already the pattern. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's all there is there. So D7. So what we are missing is the C, so we have the 7th on the bass, and then the D, and then we just run it 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're done. Now after this we're gonna go to G major. Now G major, if you run the scale here, you don't have it, see? But it's contained on the G major scale, so we could think now on the G major scale, and now it makes more sense because we did the D major, D7 from this scale, the 5th chord, to the 1. Now this is, we're gonna do the same approach that we did before. We're gonna just open up and leave out the B, and we open up and do this, and that's all there is there. So now if we count this measure, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the B that is missing, again we put it underneath, and the D also, and we end up with this. That's it here. Okay, so we went D7 to G. So you could say tension a little bit because of this interval, 2 notes, and then release a little bit there. Okay, if I play both of them, alright, now we went to G, and now we know that it's part of C major, and then no wonder he goes back to 1 now, to the C major chord, and what he'll do is the inversion here, and we'll do the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have this chord, which is the first inversion. Now he's not only gonna do that, he's gonna add the 7 notes there, so we're gonna call this a C major 7, and what he'll do is put that B underneath with the C. So we're gonna run it like this. So C major 7, that is flipped, okay? And this will be the 1 chord again, so we'll have this. Okay, now we're just moving 1 note. We have that, that's just the movement he does, keeping all the voices very close, so that's what's very smooth transitioning. So we have now notice that we're already repeating ourselves, because now we are in this chord, which is the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, A minor, but now he added a little the G on it, which is from the C major, and we could say, okay, A minor 7, we could think a little bit on that, A minor 7, 6 chord, but also think of the A minor scale. So we have this, and now we do the same approach, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now just like we did here before, and we went to D7, now he's gonna do the same approach. Now he's gonna do the same approach like this. And that, if you think about it, is the same chord that we found on the A minor scale or G major on the 5th. So now this chord, he's gonna add the C to it, get rid of the A, put it on underneath, and add the D below, and you end up with this. Okay, if you just want to practice right hand, you do 1, 2, 3, 4. All together with the D and the A, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. Okay. Now after the D7, we discussed the D is the 5th from G. Now we could come back to the 1 chord. We are here. Now we go back to 1. That would be a G major. Now from this G major, he takes the second inversion, which is here, and he does 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. the G and the B is gonna double up on the left hand, and we have this. We hold those. The reason I'm always counting, because it's very important in Bach music. We have to keep the rhythm going, and we have less room for rubato, any of those things. So we have okay. One little thing that you could think when you voice those chords is, for everything you could think it as piano, a little louder, a little louder. So increase the volume as you go up, very smoothly. Always think maybe ring always the top. So it's like so increment as you go up. Okay, now we got to there. Now from the G major here, we're gonna go here. Alright, so we're gonna go here, and what you have to think here is, we take the bass note as the name of the chord, so we're gonna say G, and then we have a B, then we have C sharp and E if we bring these notes below, and you have this chord, a G diminished. And this is not found on the scale, we basically alter it. That's why we have a flat and a sharp, a B flat and C sharp. So basically these always lead sometimes to a minor chord, or it could be major. Okay, so what we'll do is think on the G diminished there, and what he did is do the C sharp on top, the G and the E, and then he got rid of this. So we end up with this. Okay, now if you play it same way, play the right hand by itself and do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then left hand you have the G and B flat that is missing, so we'll do this. Alright? Sometimes it's nice here to bring out the tension. And what I like to do, not always but now and then when I'm experimenting, is sometimes blend in the last note so you have a decay there. So see there? So it's like bending the note. So alright, so it's important to see when you feel the chord, this is decaying, 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 less sound. So this one should match that decay, so that make a very smooth transition. Something like that. You could also emphasize this left hand. But the same rule applies most of the time, that we try to, let's say if we play this nice sound, a little more, a little more, a little more each note. Basically we try not to play each note the same, with the same strength. We wanna kind of sing a little bit, but keep it with the same consistent sound, same coloring of sound. So that gives us a little bit of evenness, even though we're trying to make it uneven. Okay. Now after the diminish, we go here. And if you take a look at the scale, we have the 2 chord now. He does the same technique. Get rid of the F, put the D on top, and then the F that he got rid of here, he's gonna put it on the bass. Okay? And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, same rhythm all the time. Left hand, and then you hold it. If you want to count the left hand by itself, you could say 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so okay. Now we're gonna go to another diminish here, and what he moves is very few voices, and that's tension again. What you have to think is on the F diminished. It's like this. So we have F, A flat, B, D. So that will be F diminished. But what he did is bring the D, F, and B on top, and then keep these two notes. So if you practice right hand, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'm doing fourth finger. Sometimes it's good for independence, but I have a purpose that is to be close to that C, C, rather than you could do still with this fingering too if you don't like the ones I'm doing. So, but I like to blend in. Now left hand, and then you do it all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're gonna switch again, and we're going back to C major. Now notice from that diminished, we go back to C. Okay. Now from C major, one chord, he did the same approach, has this, and then he put the E and G below, underneath. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. E and G underneath. Alright, maybe what we'll do is play it all the way through. I'm gonna be saying a few things, but this is totally up to you how to play. I'm gonna say what I feel at the moment, and what I feel at the moment might change according to how I feel at some point. So let's play a little bit up to there, and let's start piano. So very light. Maybe we'll do a little more. Try to keep the same articulation. Not too loud, not too soft. Now we open. Inside. Kind of the same approach. Dissonant now, left hand. Resolve that left hand. Now we're gonna open. Bring the 7, the C maybe on top. Release to G major. Diminish, gradually bring it out. Release again. Release again. Alright? You could do something like that. It doesn't need to be exactly, it's just a guide for you. Okay. Now we're gonna go from C major now. We could go back to F. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4. We have an F major, but not only that, we're gonna have the 7th involved in it. But I want you to think on F first. So let's say we have here F, and we do the first inversion that we have, just right hand there, and we could do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now if we add the E below, E and F, and we could again that dissonance, bring it out. That's all there is there. Okay. Next measure now, we're gonna go to the 2 chord, the D minor, but we're gonna add the C also. So we're gonna have D minor 7, 2 chord, and what I want you to think is he's gonna take this here and do the inversion there, and then put the D and F underneath. So this is like an F major, but really it's a D minor 7, and you have to think it the same way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You add the D and the F, and that's all there is there. Now if we continue from the D minor 7, we're gonna go to G7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you have it. Now he get rid of the D there and bring all of this underneath. Since we're going down, he has to keep the voices closed, like I mentioned before. So that's why he moves. Instead of here, we started here, but now we are transitioning to the lower octave. So we have this now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? He's going to add the first tone and the 5th on the left hand. For the first time we got to a low note here. Sometimes you could bring that out. So sounds nice. That G there. Remember that we came from the D minor. we get to the G7 there. And then from the G7 back to C. Notice that doing this 5 here allows me to change very smooth to this finger in there. So now back to one chord, but now he's taking this inversion and he's taking this. And here we got the same notes that we started with, just lower. So we have this. Nothing to say there. It's important that you maintain the rhythm. If you cannot play it evenly when you go quick, let's say for instance, if you're playing like this, and it's kind of uneven like this, you could always take this prelude and make sure each note is on the right place. You could do an up-down movement for each note. That would be a kind of like a beginner technique, and then eventually once you have more control, you could start being more flexible. Okay, now after this we're in C major, which is going to add the 7th note, which is B flat, and what he'll do is this. He's going to take the B flat here, the C and the E here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all there is. Then he had the same approach, C and G underneath. So he'll do this. Always make sure you're holding the foundation for the top. Now from C, we're gonna go back to the 4th chord, F major there, but it also has the 7th note, so F major 7. And we're gonna take these notes and play them here, and then we're gonna do an F to F on the left hand, and you see the chord very clear there. So F, F, and you have this. If you wanna practice just right hand, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Add the bass notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all there is. Then we change here, and this is a diminished chord. What you have to think is group them together. The A is here, so let's put it here to figure out what it is, and then the E flat. So here we have an F sharp diminished, like this. Tension chord again, and what we'll use is this on the right hand, and then just this and this, F sharp and C on the left hand. And we could do right hand practicing like this. 1 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Left hand. Okay. Now for the next one, it gets a little bit confusing. We have this note. Now what I like to think here mentally is in 2 chords. I like to think on the G augmented, but also the C minor. So he contains kind of both in there, because he has this first, right? So you have G, D sharp, B. So I like to think this augmented. And if you play the one before like this, and then you play the augmented one, you say, oh, that's what it is. So I think on G augmented, but I'm aware of the C. But I take the C as a passing tone, but it could also mean C minor. See, that's what it creates a little bit of a dissonant thing. So the right hand's going to take here, and we could do 1 again, 2, 3, 4. We add the left hand notes, just that. Sometimes the E flat, you could bring it out, do it opposite, look, what will be a little bit syncopated, to instigate on things, you know, if you want to do something that shocks a little bit the listener. So you got me in from before, not all the time, now and then, right? All right, let's continue now. The next one, you have this, and this I'll take it as this. take a look at the notes, I like to say that this will be an A flat diminished, and you hear the sound like that. He just added a C to it, so. And that's all there is. Now after this dissonance here, we go back to G7. Remember, 5th chord of the scale. You just take this, put it here, and then he has the G and the 7th underneath. So we have this now. Again, if you want to practice just right hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. With the left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? Now, let's move now from the G7, we're going to go back to C. So we have this, that inversion there, which is the one we started on. But he does this now. Okay, the G and the E. G and the E from the same chord. That would be the version, so he got rid of the C. Okay, one important thing about the pedaling, see, he wrote rest here, rest, rest. If you don't just let go of the pedal sometimes, you will miss those rests sometimes because you release, you know. So rest on the right hand, rest on the right hand. So if you just put the pedal, you won't be able to hear that. Okay, so C major. Now from C major chord, we're gonna add an F here, right there. But really, you have to think that this comes from the G, and it's a sus chord where he raises the C, and then he had the 7. So we end up with this. So let's say G7 is like this. He raises the C, so he makes it a suspension, and then he gets rid of the D, which is gonna be underneath, and the G, and you have this. You could bring that second finger to make it clear. Now we are G sus, right? Now we move back one note to G7, 5th chord. Still tense here, tense, even though it's a little less. And then we're gonna switch to this one. So let's count out the G7. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? Now you're gonna go here by moving just a few notes there. We did this movement, and you have to think, we could say that that's an A diminished, and then we have a G underneath. So we're gonna say A diminished over G, and then we could do this, move it around like we did before. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we add the left hand, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, now from that tension point we release back to C major, 1 chord of the scale. He just opened up. He did the G, the C, and the G, and then bass notes G and E. Okay, so we run it. And that's all there is there. Okay. Okay, we're gonna switch now. We're gonna go back to the sus chord. Remember that we did before with the C there. I mentioned that you raise the C and you have the F on top. So G sus 7 there with this. So we run it. And we add the bass note. This one we already did it, so we go back to G7 by moving just one note. Alright, and now we get to the lowest point, which we're gonna use this, which is a C7 chord. You just flipped it. If you do the versions, That's the one he did. He got rid of the C, put it underneath, and he has C, C. Now this is the lowest point. So we're not gonna go any lower than that. So I think from before, there we could give it to it. The first time we get there. So I have this C7, and he's gonna keep using those notes for that, but from the C7 he's gonna go to F major, and he builds this bass in this chord right here open over here, so he runs it, and then he gets to the third, and then down here again. Okay, that's all F major. So the fingers I use is 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, and then he adds the D. So think a little bit on a D minor 7 here when he does. See, because we do this F major to D minor 7. So let's do it again slow. So we have. It's important that you kind of feel a little bit the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could emphasize a little bit. 1, there. And then here we go to the C and B, so you could bring that B dissonant, and we're gonna go to the G7 on the right hand straight, and we do the same technique that we did with F major. So we started, once we get to B, we're gonna go up, and then here, okay, let's do it again slowly. Then here 5, do 5 instead of 4, and we run it up. So maybe I play F major over C, and then we go. We end up very light. I thought I'd give you some practice tips. I think the most important thing is that you feel this block chords going up, and here where you want to go up, where you're gonna see, I could feel that softer. Oh, no. Now left hand sings, oh, top sings. It's important at this. So if you're a beginner, maybe you should practice going quickly. Maybe you could do 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then you're ready. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, ba di da da, ba di da da, ba di da da, ba di da da. Just for fun, ti da da, dun ti da da, dun ti da di, dun ti da da, ba di da da. So you can kind of make it move a little bit like that, and then maybe do it in 2, 1, 2, da, 3. So this will help you because each time you're grouping all the notes from the measure. So here, and then I have to regroup. So you have to move very quickly rather than spending the whole time. So this might happen to you when you do this, and then when you get here, you get stuck. See, you lose the rhythm, and you say, "Oh, what is now?" Then you recover. So count a little bit while the chord is going on. You're already thinking on those notes, and then when you get there in time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Even though I know I'm doing a little bit syncopated rhythms there for fun, it will help you a lot to practice it. So pretty much you have to go quick. So the quicker I could get to the next chord, the easier it gets, because I could do. See how quick I could do that? So then while I'm doing here, I already know what's coming. Alright? So that's a very important thing. Play the chord as a block chord. And then make sure that many times we're gonna emphasize that note on the left hand, but sometimes think on that up. So start piano and then higher. Move in and out. Da, 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 da. Something like this, okay? And another important thing is keeping in mind that in the 4/4 time, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 1 is the strong beat, and that will be the 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 strong, weak. So you could have a sense of the rhythm like that. So let's say strong. It's still a little bit louder than E, but it's not as strong as the first beat. So third beat is strong, so a little more, and then the same here. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you enjoyed, subscribe. Also, thank you very much, and all my supporters from Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee.